Son múltiples los beneficios que nos aporta estar en la naturaleza, en cualquier lugar y con la intención que sea, sin importar cuál vaya a ser el grado de interacción. En todo caso, estos factores podrán influir en el alcance del beneficio. Se han descrito resultados positivos para el bienestar psicológico, la función cognitiva y el estado de salud física, pero también para la mejora de la situación social del individuo y el bienestar espiritual, tanto en personas sanas como enfermas. Todo esto lo hemos estado hablando, pero es solo remarcar, ¿no?, que todo esto, hay mucha literatura, lo estamos diciendo, pero hay que seguir, porque los que estamos aquí nos lo creemos mucho, lo sabemos, pero esto hay que saberlo transmitir, hay que seguir explicándolo, ¿no?, a las administraciones. Aquí hay administraciones que están concienciadas, que son sensibles, pero hay muchas ciudades, muchos pueblos, muchos lugares donde esto tiene que llegar, ¿no? Entonces, ahí están los números, están los beneficios. Simplemente comparto eso. Ella sigue y dice, bueno, los beneficios son a escala social, también se consigue reducir el vandalismo, el absentismo escolar, los disturbios raciales y la violencia en general. Tal vez uno de los efectos más importantes de la permanencia en la naturaleza es la posibilidad que tiene de hacer restaurar nuestra capacidad de atención. Y sigue, y sigue, y sigue, y sigue. Y ahora aprovecho pues para presentar a las dos personas que nos van a acompañar en la mesa y que nos van a seguir hablando de los beneficios que tiene a nivel de salud para las personas y en la ciudad concretamente, ¿no? Bueno, tenemos a Lidia Casas, que... ¿Dónde está la Lidia? Ya, vale. La Lidia Casas de la Universitat d'Amberes, Bélgica, y la Mònica de ISGlobal, que está por aquí. Pues bienvenidas.
So I'm going to speak about green spaces and child health in, I hope, only 12 minutes, which is also a great challenge, but I'll try. And I'll start speaking about climate change and health with a very brief overview of what happens. So we have climate change that has some direct effects. These are the storms, droughts, floods, and heat waves. And those have actually a direct effect on health. But they also have an impact on these indirect effects: water quality, air pollution, land use, and the ecological change. That also have an impact on health. And these two pillars here, the direct effects and the indirect effects, they interact with the social dynamics. And that makes that some population groups, some regions are maybe more vulnerable to the health effects of climate change. Okay, and the health effects of climate change are multiple. They include mental illness, which is a great concern. Nowadays, I think it was specifically mentioned in the last IPCC, but also undernutrition, not such a big problem here in Europe, but yes, in the global south. Allergies, cardiovascular diseases, infectious diseases, and many others. I'm going to give you two examples to show you, to illustrate a bit the burden of disease caused by climate change. One with an example of mortality during a heat wave. That was the heat wave of 2003 in Europe. And here we have the changes in temperature, so the difference between the same period in 2001 compared to the period in 2003, the changes in temperature. You see, it's up to 10 degrees higher in some regions, especially here in the center of Europe, the UK, France, and part of Spain, Italy, and Germany. So I use this example. It's 20 years old almost, but it's a very good one because they estimated the excess deaths, and they counted there were in Europe about 70,000 excess deaths happening within these 2-3 weeks of heat wave. So here they map it, and you see actually it it comes together with the changes in temperature. You see that most of the excess deaths, almost twice the regular deaths, were happening in these areas in France where you had these high temperatures. Another factor that might increase with climate change is air pollution, because it does not only depend on the source, but also on the meteorology, so the amount of air pollution that we have. And here, this is a graph about the global number of deaths in 2015 by risk factor. So what we see here is that total pollution, not only air pollution, but total pollution was causing in 2015 about 9 million deaths. And air pollution was very similar to the deaths caused by tobacco smoke. So around 7 million people were dying in 2015 only because of air pollution. And we more and more live in cities, we all know that, and that's also a problem. It's a problem because it accumulates air pollution, it accumulates noise pollution. I'm not going to talk about noise. And we have these heat island effects that also have an impact on our health. And in addition, there's a lot of people living in cities, which means lots of people is exposed. So one of the plans, the adaptation strategies we have for climate change is introducing these urban green spaces in cities. That will reduce the heat island effect or attenuate. It will reduce traffic because there's no traffic where there's green, in theory. We can prevent from this now I have the problem, inundaciones, the floods. And in addition, it has some co-benefits to the society. We create spaces for socialization, for physical activity, for relaxation, for growing food. Good, so you see green spaces are very important and they act on key elements that affect our health. And I said also I would talk about these vulnerable populations, and I will focus only on one aspect of vulnerability, which is age and children, because we are going to talk about schools, although schools involve a lot more than age. I will just focus on age and why children is more vulnerable, and why interventions at early ages have a stronger impact on our health than interventions when they are done later in life. So children, and actually since conception, we are developing, our body is developing. So meaning that any trigger, any toxicant that we are exposed to at these very early stages of life can have a huge impact on our health later on. And so, if we have interventions that are done at these very first years of life, those interventions will result in, at the end, in a benefit for the health of the population in general in adulthood. While if we start interventions later in life, this impact will be there, but it will be a lot less. And because we are talking about schools and children and learning and so on, I chose to talk about the development of the brain because there are many aspects in health. You could think about allergies, for example, which also are related to absenteeism from school, and it can have also an impact on child's development. But I will focus on why the brain is so important. And just one figure to show, the brain starts developing actually at conception, and the development ends when we are around 22 years old. So it's a long process, but very important is that it's not like a straight line of growing, but there are some moments in life when there's a lot more, development, or it develops faster. So, and these are key moments in life, the early childhood, when we can do some interventions to have most of the benefit on the development of the brain. And so now there's already actually quite some literature, mainly focused on green spaces around the homes and the impact on child health, and also specifically on the cognitive development. I'm going to explain just two examples of two studies. One we did in Belgium, in homes of children who at the age of 4 to 6 years. So we measure green spaces in buffers around the homes. And then we did some measures of cognitive development. And we looked at the association between those two. And what we observed was that children living in homes that were having a lot more green around them, they were having less symptoms of hyperactivity, so that's behavior. They had better attention, and they also had a better working memory. This working memory is a combination of the short-term memory. This is the memory that we use to, say, if I ask you where is the toilet and you reply, then I can go to the toilet and get there. You know, this very important one for the routine things we do. And it's a combination of this with how we manipulate this information and connect it to the long-term memory. And so that's what allows us to make calculations, to read a sentence, so very important in terms of learning. Also to make reflections, and also to solve problems. So it's a very basic area of the brain functioning that needs to be good so that we can function, and that has an impact in the end on the mental capital of the society. And another study I was not involved in, it's from ISGlobal, where she is involved, but I'm not sure you are. You were not there yet? No. It's the BREATH project, done in Barcelona in schools, where they looked at surrounding green space in schools in relation to this working memory I told about. And they observed that there was better working memory among children attending schools where there was more green around and within the school. Good. So based on this, we have our, I'm not going to read this slide because we already talked a lot about the Cool Schools project. Just go directly to what is my involvement together with I'm at the University of Antwerp, and I'm not sure I mentioned, I'm an environmental epidemiologist. And I would do this work package together with the University of Hasselt, with another environmental epidemiologist who couldn't come today. And we are part one work package within the Cool Schools project. And what we will do is to answer to the question whether these green spaces in schools have an impact on the neuropsychological development of the children. And we will do it in primary school children of the 5th and the 6th grades, or around 10 schools in Brussels. And we will look to select the schools into socioeconomic factors, because we know this has also a huge impact on the cognitive function of the children, and also how the green is within the school and around the school, but that's what Francesca and Elsa will do. And we will then go to these schools and do measures of mental health and quality of life among the children, and also of this cognitive development using some computer tests, just games where they have to play, where we measure reaction time and how these things. So that's a bit what I wanted to say. It took me 15 minutes.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. If you want, you
Hello, I'm Mònica Ubalde. I work at ISGlobal as a researcher. I started 3 years ago, and I started being involved in this project led by the Barcelona city called Refugios Climàtics, so the climate shelters. I'm sure that yesterday you heard about it. And the next step, which is we transform the schoolyard, so which is also there. And I will start. I'm a biologist by training, and also a public health specialist. My doctorate, my PhD thesis was on occupational epidemiology, but it has somehow related to environmental, and I switched to environmental epidemiology and to these school projects 3 years ago, as I said. And I would like to start first. I start in English. It's okay because it's okay for every. Okay, if I switch, because you know the presentation it's in Spanish and Catalan, and with a typo here, and I can see. So first, I would like to start thanking all of you for the great work done in all the projects you present, and also because you already have all my talk done. So I just have like the main points that you already touch. I think I will give you like a wide perspective from the public health view. So I hope to connect all the points that you touch, because you touch the main targets on these topics on the schoolyards and green scholars. And also I would like to thank FICA for giving the target and the main points on the governance, because I'm involved in the projects, in the implementation and in the evaluation. I will talk about the evaluation of the implementations, and I think that you touch really the highlights that we need to move forward and to improve to make the school greening successful. And I will add health to that successful. So I will start just with the main or the more, wide definition of health, based on the WHO, the World Health Organization, which is it's not only not having not being sick, but also to be physically and mentally well-being, but also social, not only not having diseases. And one key point is that our health, it's 75%. Depends on the environment we live. And Lidia started talking about how the cities influence our health. So we live in a urban environment, most of the population, and it's projected that by 2050, like 3 parts of the population will be living in urban areas. And it's also estimated by the WHO that almost a quarter, so 25% of our health and in mortality terms depends on the environmental factors. So the good news is that we are exposed to the environmental factors that are detrimental for health in urban settings, let's say. It's the topic we're talking today. But the good news is that we can change these factors. So we can change these factors that also promote these inequalities. And Francesc showed this morning very early in the first presentation how different in Barcelona the exposure to green spaces is in schools, within schools, around schools, in the different neighborhoods in Barcelona. And actually, here we have this mortality expectation, the difference in between the most privileged compared to the most vulnerable neighborhoods in Barcelona is around 10 years of difference. So those living in the most privileged neighborhoods have, like in mean, 9 more years of life, let's say, compared to the... so we have a tool in our minds to make these inequalities be reduced. So we have this, this tool in the cities without the health system. We don't need to reach the health system because the health system is to recover from disease, and we want to promote health. We want to avoid diseases, and we want to promote well-being and emotional, and I said in the wide sense, emotional and physical well-being. So we have the boosters for health are in the cities and out of the health system. So that's why we have this also in English in the website of ISGlobal. So that's the 5 keys that we want in the cities. We want to be more, not only healthy, but also sustainable, equitable, and fair. So, and Lidia also talked about this, you know, that the cities give us opportunities for development, for learning, for economics, or for populations to grow up, but also have risks in relation to the levels of contamination, the noise, the reduced physical activity, which is related to green spaces. Now we are in the point, and also this factor related with the climate change and the heat urban island effect in the cities. And one of the points is that we have a lack of green and open spaces in the cities, and Francesc showed us this morning in Barcelona how not equally distributed is in Barcelona, for example. And we have the opportunity to use this lack of green, and actually you show, Francesc, that almost 50% of the schools in Barcelona are gray. So the worst category, but also we had 2 more categories before. You have the healthy green or something, but before the gray, there was another one. So more than 50 of more than half of the schools in Barcelona are gray. So we have a big opportunity to do public health through schools, because we have many lack of green spaces out of the schools, but also in the schools. So school environments are a great opportunity, and the designers, the urbanisms, the architects, but also other sectors, and you touch all the stakeholders that could be involved in and should be involved in this design. They have a critical opportunity to promote and to protect health. And how? So using the school environment, not only the schoolyards, but also we talk about also the green and how to the green around the schools, and how to connect, the necessity to connect the community in the school with the community in the neighborhood, and not to understand the school as a isolated building with an isolated schoolyard, and we want to open to the community, we want the community to come in, but we also want to the community, educational community, to come out and to connect and to interact with this network in the city and improve the social connection. So this is a great opportunity to do public health, because, as I said, health is not only the lack of disease, but also this emotional, this more physical, mental, but also social health and connection. And I will go further on the spiritual. So there are some more wide definitions of health that went more to this spiritual connection with nature that you start this morning with this poem, right? And then with this piece of literature that you share with us. With our connection with nature is not only because of aesthetics, it's because we are also this little ant, we are also this little, other insects. We are part of it, and all of us, all the ecosystem need to be healthy. And that's another point that has arisen during the day. So why the opportunity of the schools? Because every neighborhood has schools. In Barcelona, we have seen that the distribution is quite homogeneous, but so we have schools in every neighborhood in different districts. So it's a pure opportunity to generate the benefits, not only for the children and the educational community, but also for the whole community and the whole city, so we can scale up the benefits, the potential benefits of implementing green in the schools and surrounding the schools to be applied for the whole community. And how also we need to do that, and you raised that also, Fika, and in another presentation. So we need to have a participatory approach and multi-sectoral. So we need to compromise the teachers. There was also a rise here, because the changes need to be driven from the schools. So we need to listen, to train the teachers, to give them resources to make it possible, but also, and you also arise on your projects, we need to give voice and to hear children. Because, sometimes, or most of the times, the interventions are designed based on adults' thoughts, on adults' views and perceptions of why they need. But we need to listen to children to understand why they need, how they perceive the nature, how they perceive the contact with these elements of nature, not only to be under a tree, but they want to interact, and we want to know how they interact and how this interaction affects their health in terms of cognitive development, in terms of cardiovascular risk factors as obesity. I think in the study right in Rotterdam you mentioned something about that. So we have many options to promote health from the early stages of life. And these transformations need to be not only physical and urbanistic, in the sense that not only things that are beautiful and for aesthetics. We need also to do transformation in the social area, but also from the pedagogical point of view, including, as has been mentioned, the greening and the nature in the curricula. And this main point, which is the governance and the budgeting for doing, not only being possible to be implemented, but also to be maintained in the middle long term. Because if we need to evaluate the potential benefits, we need time to evaluate. We need time to wait for the potential benefits, not just in the short term, but in the middle long term. And as I said, this transformation need to be participatory and also multi-sector. And which are the actors? So you and the stakeholders, you already, so this is a summary of your work this morning. So we need to be involved the children or the young adults, because we're talking a lot about primary children, but young adults, secondary schools, so from 13 until 18, they are really important. And for me, they are like missed in all of these implementations and all these plannings of transforming the cities on the school environments also. We need to have the educational and the managers in the schools involved. Families, the community. The importance of the connection with the neighborhood is also a tool of public health. And of course, the government and the institutions and the technicians, but also as we are here, people in research that could provide the evidence on how these benefits are measured. And that's one example. This is one example of how to make, children participating in knowing their perceptions and how they feel in this citizen science process and different studies. This is one which is not on greening, but on how children perceive their school travel from home to school and the other way around, and how they perceive as positive and negative things in the school travel, and how they can change it. So they can design interventions to try to improve the school travel. And here, for example, we were working, this is one study is going on now into schools in Barcelona. We work with these co-production workshops with results from, I don't know if you know, the Photo Voice methodology. It's a qualitative methodology, in which participants, in this case children, take a picture of places, in this case in the school travel, and they record why they took this picture and how they feel. So here there are pictures in relation to green. So in general, they feel calm. They like to walk through from home to school through streets that are greener than others, and they really like to spend time in parks with green features. So all this information will give us the new opportunities that we were talking about to create the diversity and to co-create the diversity and the social relations and the flexibility to new situations in the community, in the interaction, the social interaction, but also in the school, and to provide the new opportunities to use differently the schoolyard and increase the physical activity, to change the types of physical activity. You also mentioned that, how the girls play or use the schoolyard and in which kind of physical activity are they involved, and also to boost the imagination. There are also initiatives, like, I don't know if you know this initiative, it's called Entornos Escolares Seguros y Saludables, so school environments healthy and safe, and it's promoted by this Seminario de Movilidad y Infancia, which is a working group with a different professionals, also researchers and NGOs from different perspectives, and they are involved in converting these school environments in areas of childhood protection, so for health, also for security, and also for their rights. And they have these, you can go into the website, and the municipalities, so we are now in this point of governance, so the municipalities can diagnose their own indicators of how their city or their municipality territory is in different indicators. And in the third, you can see the one of the indicators is the proportion of the school centers that have green features in the school. And then the last point, it's how important it is to evaluate the changes. So we need to measure how all these changes benefit on children's health and the community health. So in the case of these climate shelters, we were involved in evaluating the impact on health, well-being, and also the environmental quality in these 10 interventions and control schools that we used to compare the measures. And I think you're gonna, the visit to this school in Can Fabra is planned for this afternoon, so you will see the change, but this is how the school was before, with two big areas of concrete. And this is another one in the Champlain that has changed completely from this grey to this green. So this is just one example of how we have measured the impacts for the environmental changes. This is one schoolyard that in the pre-assessment we have, you can see here, like, it's a screening map showing the temperatures, how it's distributed in the schoolyard, and where the interventions were implemented in green, gray, which is a shade, and also water. And you can see in the post-assessment how this area where the gray and green component was implemented, how it improves in terms of it's more blue, right? So the temperature has decreased really, but there is another area where the temperature has not improved here, because there was here a sandbox that was, released to put another intervention for water, which because of the COVID protocols was not used. So then this area increased the temperature. But the evaluation, it's all affected by the COVID pandemic. And then we also assess the use of the schoolyard with this systematic observation tool that we designed for observing the schoolyard during the recess. And you mentioned that. So we observed an increase of the proportion of girls playing in larger groups, so less girls playing alone around the schoolyard, but also involved in activities that were more sedentary and locomotion, not sportive. So less football, less basketball, and more other fantasy games and interactive games with more boys. And this is just another indicator of this evaluation, which has been implemented by the Barcelona Public Agency. And there are many other indicators, but they perceive positively the changes in the schoolyard in terms of places to sit down, to interact, to be under shade, and they increase their positive perceptions around their schoolyard. So they perceive better the schoolyard after the implementations in general. And this is not from refugees, but just to show you how also the social change can be also be measured when we implement and we change the schoolyard with, in this case, with green solutions. So in the school in Madrid, for example, what happened is that over the years, the 3 years after the implementation, more people in the neighborhood want to go to the school with more diversity, so decreasing the inequities, and more different and more innovative teachers want to go to the school. The creation of this families association to work with the school, and also better indicators on learning outcomes. And just to finish, well, because we were talking about the budgeting and maintenance, so it's important to consider in the budgeting how much we want to invest in the intervention, but also how does it mean in terms of which gains we have in terms of health. And there are also economic costs that are related to that. We can save in premature deaths, also in reducing the use of healthcare systems, and also on the well-being. So these benefits for mental health that are here in these two studies, showing the savings of implementing or using these green spaces. And in Barcelona, it was this study showed how the implementation of the Super IAS program in Barcelona, if it was implemented completely, we will save around 700 deaths, which represent almost 2 million euros of saving costs in health. So that's my last slide. So we have a big opportunity in the schoolyards and the school environments to transform the cities to make it more healthier, sustainable, but also fair, and not without inequalities. And that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Thank you, Mònica. Thank you, Lidia.
I'm sorry for the...
Yeah, we are a little bit late in the schedule, but yeah, you can take a seat here. Just, well, we don't have a lot of time for questions and speaking with them, but I invite you, if you want to, just to do a comment, a question. Just no, well, if not you, no, if you, it's better with the microphone. But just one, please. See, it's okay for you? Yeah. No, okay. No.
I hope it's a good question then. Thank you for your presentation. Very interesting. The thing I was wondering, there are so many advantages and benefits for greening green-blue schoolyards. But what are the barriers for schoolyards in Barcelona not to have a green-blue schoolyard? Do you have any idea what those barriers are and how to overcome them?
Well, as I think, and as you can see, Barcelona, it's really active on changing this. And as I said, after this climate shelters project, which was a pilot in 10 schools in the city, one each neighborhood, now is moving forward really quickly to transform the schoolyards green in the schools and putting more other elements for more pedagogical objectives also. So I think the main barriers that could be behind how not only to implement but also to maintenance and to, as we have been discussing, it's on pieces of governance that FICA explained really well. So we don't have all of them, but some of the pieces are key on, how the transformation will be successful, because it's not only to implement the nice thing, but also to assess if the nice thing works, how better it works, and just not to forget the goals. So we need to have the goals really clear and then to move forward. But the pieces of governance, I will say, yeah. And budget, always.
And I think that, for example, this is the 6th year that we are doing these meetings, and the things has changing a lot in these years, and all of these projects are young projects. It's like 6, 7, no, and we are walking the path and the way, no? It's like we are doing all together, and because of that it's so important, these meetings and what cool schools is doing, and I don't know. Yeah, and you are speaking about Barcelona, it's a big city, or Paris, but the territory is big, and also the small cities, and it's a long way, no? It's not, it's something like that. I think that we don't have more time. We have to close here. And, well, I think that we're going to close together with Isa and with all of you, because I think this is thanks to everybody that is here, and we are just doing knowledge together, no? And yes.
Yeah, just to say thank you very much, Mamen, for all the organization of the event. We have collaborated, but you have done a lot, and your team. And thank you very much for being here these 2 days. It has been super, well, I think that it has been a knowledge sharing space, place, and very inspiring, no, for all of us from our different fields, from research, practice, and etc. So, we wanted to see this short film, but we don't have sound connected to the, so it will be only the images. I don't know, Ian, if it's okay. We can try just to say you goodbye, and there is still some food there, so please. And all the people from cool schools, we will go for a lunch together. So thank you very much to all you.